The old coot here coming at you with the next part in this series, making meatballs. Okay, so if you've been following along in this series, we made 23 meatballs. That's what it came out to. That's 2 pounds total meat, right? Which is 1.5 pounds of chuck roast, half a pound of pork shoulder, ground pork, 85/15. You get the idea. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cook this all. So this is a Trementina half Dutch oven or half Dutch oven basically. You could use anything. You could use a pot. You could finish it off. You could do the whole thing on the stovetop. The reason why I use this is because I'm going to do mine in the oven. And we'll show you that in a minute. But what I want to do is, this is completely cold. There's nothing in here. What I want to do is I want to turn my heat on to just under medium. So somewhere is like around right there. I've marked this off because I do this a lot. So biggest burner I have, right? Biggest burner I have, and I'm on medium. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my meatballs in now. And as the pan heats up, the meatballs will heat up. And all we want to do is just kind of lay them in there so that they're kind of close together. But at the same time, you give maybe like a 1/4 inch between each. But these will fit. I promise you, they will fit. So we're going to lay these in here. And we're doing good so far. By the way, now's a good time to hit that like button if you like what you're seeing so far in this video series. But 23 meatballs will fit into this pot, I guarantee you. Okay, so coming in here, you can see I've done this a few times. Remember, you want them close, because they will shrink a little, and the fat, some of the fat's going to melt off into the pan, and we're going to use all that for Flavor Town. What I'm trying to do here is I'm just trying to build up flavor, right? So we're browning these meatballs. I do a little more on this side. Got my fan on. Very important to have a fan when you're cooking because it gets pretty hot in the kitchen. Okay, so these are in here. Pan's heating up. Wash my hand real quick. Go to the sink. Right, the one's going to be somewhat sanitary. Okay, I did clean up my work surface a little bit too. Usually I clean as I go. Sorry about it. I had like the overhead camera thing going, but the whole rig just crapped out on me, so can't use that anymore. But anyways, we're doing it this way. So now's a good time to clean as you go, right? So I'm going to take this tray, give it a rinse in the sink, get some soap and water going. Right, and I can do all that. Get some soap, got it in my hands, and there's just the soapy action. Anyways, just want to get it soapy so that you're kind of sterilizing, cleaning your work surface as you go. You get the idea. So I'm gonna wash my other hand. Man, I wish that camera thing would work. If anybody has an idea for some kind of what do they call it? They're called like doggy cams or something. Where you, by the way, wearing an apron. I'm just drying myself off as I go. Right? That's how we do this. Okay, so meatballs are coming up to a sizzle. Right, and like I said, we're on medium heat, a little below medium, between medium and lowish. Let's say on the biggest burner that I have. Eventually, we're going to finish these off in the oven. The goal here is I'm just trying to brown the meatballs, right? To get the pot pick up some of that residual, like those brown bits. We're not burning anything. We're just getting some nice brown bits. Eventually, I'm going to remove the meatballs and then lower the heat a little. Throw in. This is literally 15 cloves of garlic. So an entire garlic bulb like this should give you about 14 to 15 cloves. What I did was I just laid them out and just literally took, like here's one for example, took the back of the knife, right, put it down, boom, gave it a hit and just cracked them. So cracked garlic, because I want to leave them kind of chunky and texturous because they are going to be cooking for about 30, 40 minutes in a 350 degree oven with the rest of the sauce and everything else. By the way, if you're curious about the sauce that I'm using for these meatballs, I've got Hunt's crushed tomato, and then I've got this Mutti pulpa crush, which is basically crushed tomato. So I'm using 2 cans of crushed tomato, just a little variety. I find this gives a nice tangy sauce that isn't too bitter or sour. I hate that sour taste, especially in pasta sauce. Okay, something that sets apart, quote unquote, a real Italian from like an Americanized Italian. Sorry, no offense. I'm waiting for the tomatoes to be thrown at me. I do not put oregano in my pasta sauce Oregano to me is pizza. So if I'm making pizza sauce, then I put oregano in. But if I'm just making pasta and pasta sauce, there's no oregano in the sauce. What I've got here is crushed red pepper. We're going to be putting in some of this, probably about a 1/4 teaspoon. I've got a little bit of ground clove, which kind of gives like a nice, I don't know, I can't exactly describe the flavor. It's kind of like a sweetness, like an underlying sweetness, but without the sweetness. Does that make sense? But anyways, we're going to be putting in like a little, like about, I would say about almost 1/8 of it, like just one shake of this is all you need. Very potent stuff. 3 bay leaves. These are fresh. You could use the dried ones. It's totally fine. I have a little bay tree, so I try to use the bay leaves whenever I can. Leave them whole, and then you can fish those out later. Then what I'm going to do is, once I take the meatballs out, right, I'm just going to brown them. They don't need to cook fully through. You just need to brown them like halfway. I'm going to set them on a towel and a thing to kind of soak up some of that excess oil. I might take out a little bit of extra oil or extra fat that has melted off here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the heat, throw in the garlic cloves, all 15 garlic cloves on low heat, and then let the temperature come back up with some olive oil to kind of flavor the olive oil. And then I'm going to add in my onions. What the onions are going to do is they're going to break apart those brown bits that are going to be in the bottom of the pan here to kind of incorporate that flavor. And that browning is what gives you a multi-dimensional sauce, multi-flavor. You get a lot of that beef and that pork flavor in the sauce. Because otherwise it's just tomatoes on top of meatballs. This way the sauce picks up the flavors from the beef and the pork and everything else that went into the meatballs themselves. And then I've got a little celery here to add some like grassy undernotes, right? Some brightness, some sass, some grassy. Anyways, you get the idea. But the onion and garlic trio, man, that's like almost heaven. You could add carrots if you want your sauce to be a little sweeter, almost like a ragu, like a bolognese. You could add some carrots. I didn't have any. I was like, no need for it. All this is going to go into the half stock pot, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the meatballs back in, put the sauce in, give it a good stir, put the bay leaves in, and then all this is going to go in a 350-degree oven for about 30 to 45 minutes or so. We'll check on it and see how it's doing. Some people will add cheese. You can put cheese in your meatballs. You can put grana padano, you can put pecorino, you can put whatever you kind of want to put. You can do whatever. I kind of put the cheese sometimes in the sauce too, because it releases the oil from the cheese, and you get that nice cheesy flavor throughout the sauce and the meatballs, and we will do all that before I stick it in the oven. So right now it's 6:36 or so. You can tell we're doing this in real time, and I will come back at you with another video, an update on this after these have browned a little bit, because you don't want to sit through 20 minutes of this of browning. But anyways, I'll be back in another video. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button down there below if you like what you're seeing. Check out the description for a link to all the tools that I've been using today. The 12-inch Victorinox chef knife, the tongs that I'm going to be using now to rotate the meatballs, right? And then I've got this spatula thing that I was using, and then some other cool stuff. Anyways, hit the like button. Catch you on the next video.